Folks, welcome in to sportsbookreview.com. It's week 11 NFL action, and it is time for the closing line, an action-packed one-hour show. Who's in, who's out, which plays to make, and a whole lot of nonsense, particularly coming from my co-host right here. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. We are sportsbookreview.com, and we are going to get you ready for those 1 o'clock games, Kyle. A lot of ins, a lot of outs, some good weather out there.
Yeah, one game with some weather concerns. Looks like some rain there in Philly and Cleveland, but I'm stoked for week 11. And you're right. You mentioned this on Thursday. It's crazy that it's week 11. Like, what the hell is going on? It went really quick. I'm excited for today. I'm freezing my ass off a little bit out here. We're battling the elements, so we got the big mimosa. Cheers to everyone. Thanks for joining us out in the chat box. I think there's some good spots today, especially some team total spots, too. We'll get to those when we get to, but there's some good spots today, and no Teddy Bridgewater, et cetera, there in Carolina, that rigmarole going back and forth. Is he in, is he out? I'm excited for today.
Yeah, we're going to go through each and every one of these games, and it's a really good night game with a lot of intriguing moving parts as well. We'll get to between Kansas City and the Las Vegas Raiders. But let's have some fun. Get after it. 74,300 people have hit that subscribe button. We were asking to get to 74,000 last week. Over 300 plus people have joined us. Thank you for doing that. If you haven't hit that, subscribe button yet, just flip it over from red to gray. Get that notification bell turned on, and certainly when Kyle and I go live to talk a little NFL action right here on sportsbookreview.com, you will get that. Also, if you miss any content during the week or just looking to check out some information designed to make you a better gambler, there is a link below where me and Kyle are talking right now, sbrpicks.com/NFL videos, write-ups, anything you need, as we said, to be a more competent sports bettor out here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Just a couple of the guys here, James, Eric, Connor, Jay, Melissa, Reviews, Daniel, Akbar. Welcome into the chat box. Let's have some fun, and let's kick it off. And what better way to kick it off? You see me wearing the throwback Kelly green right now. I'm going to talk a little Philadelphia Eagles and those Cleveland Browns, 451, 452. And it's interesting, Kyle, because we start off with really the only weather game that we have on the card. Rain all morning in Cleveland, expected to continue throughout the game as much as an inch. But again, these are NFL fields. This isn't your high school freshman practice field that's just going to be a quagmire of dirt. They should be able to operate in this game, but when we're talking about we don't have any high windy conditions across the NFL, there's no high windy conditions in this game, which is what we saw for the past two games in Cleveland. But that over-under is dropping, Kyle. Opened up at 47.5. We're now seeing 45.5s across the board, and I tend to agree with that. Also a drop here in the line, a huge bit of injury news in midweek when Myles Garrett tested positive for the COVID. That's the best player on the entire team, and a guy that could be so disruptive on his way possibly to what? NFL MVP, Defensive MVP award, will not play today. That goes from 3.5 as a line down to 2.5 across the board. Are we buying in on the Eagles yet in this game? Because here's the question I want to ask for you. When you look at the rain here, big, strong offensive line on the Cleveland Browns, even though the Eagles are getting a little bit healthier on the front line, two really good running backs. If Baker Mayfield can work within that, they've played the same type of formula the past few games. Maybe they don't want to wheel and deal to get out there. I just don't know if the Eagles can pull it off, but I have a feeling here this game is going to be close, obviously, since it's a 2.5. But that Myles Garrett injury news is humongous here.
Oh, it's absolutely huge. And like I just said, I've been saying all week, I will never trust an NFC East team as a favorite. Well, guess what? They're an underdog. We've seen Cleveland play in these, this isn't going to be super windy like the other games were, but we have seen them play in these rainy conditions, and they stink. The offense stinks. They're going to have to run the ball a ton. I can't believe I'm saying it. The 45.5, I agree that it's dropping. It's too low for me now to feel good about taking the under. A defensive touchdown early, a fumble, an interception, a muffed punt can ruin the entire thing. So I'm a little bit nervous about going there. But I do think I'm going back to the well and taking these damn Eagles in this game. I just don't trust Baker Mayfield in bad weather. I like that the Eagles are getting healthier. I know the offensive line for Cleveland's. I will say personally, for my own money, I didn't put anything on this game. I don't trust either team. But if I had to pick a side right now, that Myles Garrett injury or COVID changes things a lot for me. I think it makes things a lot easier for Carson Wentz, and Lord knows he needs it to be easy. So I can't believe I'm saying it because I'm still really pissed at your Eagles, but I'm going to take them to cover here. I just think they're a more well-rounded team than Cleveland.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. It really is, because the downfield threat is really not there for Cleveland. I do like Hollywood Higgins, and you're going to get a mix of Jarvis Landry, but they're going to lean on that running game, which leads you to making not a lot of mistakes. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, is if you have that wide open offense and you throw a pick or two, okay, well, if you're going to put up 24 plus points, 27, 30 points a game, you can afford those mistakes. But if you're talking about, Kyle, let's get out here in the rain and have a ground game, what are we talking about here? 10, 11, 12 play drives. You can get penalties, maybe end up in a field goal instead of a touchdown, which leaves that margin for error very thin. It would be interesting to see what type of game plan the Philadelphia Eagles come out with. But again, in the rain, still leaning towards the under. Truth be told, early in the week, I was a second, Kyle, from pushing that team total over button on the Philadelphia Eagles that was sitting at 20.5. I was waiting for one of my books here in New Jersey to drop that to a 20. It never got there. It sits around the 21 number, which I do think is correct. But if we're not talking about a swashbuckler game on the opposite side, forget about Carson Wentz, talking about Baker Mayfield, I don't know if they need to go high. So like a 21-17 type game is what I feel. And that's why I didn't push the trigger on the over in this one.
Yeah, I agree. And then it's, you take the 21-17, and you know how the Eagles are. They go for two a ton. So then you could end up 22-17, maybe a turnover at the end by Mayfield going for it. And then bam, you just busted and went the over. So it's a scary number. It's right in the right spot. For me, it's a pretty efficient number. And God, I can't believe I'm taking the Eagles in this. But I do think they cover your Cleveland. If they rely on Cody Parkey, I could see a missed field goal here. And I said Philly's more well-rounded today defensively and offensively than Cleveland is in that weather. I don't think Philadelphia is a well-rounded team. I see the comment there. I don't like the Eagles at all. I think they're a terrible team, but I don't like Cleveland in this bad weather, and I don't like that defense without Myles Garrett. The secondary is vulnerable. I think the Eagles can run the ball. They're getting healthier, getting their weapons back. So it feels like a trap. Vegas is begging you right now to bet Cleveland. I'm taking the Eagles.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because if you have the trouble about the Eagles you don't think can win on the road, I usually flip these over. And again, it didn't work in the Arizona game on Thursday night, but taking the +1, I figured if they weren't going to be in the game, Arizona versus Seattle, they probably won't win the game, and that's exactly what happened. You figure in the rain, some of these teams testing each other out, not a lot of scoring in the first half until you really have to press. And we don't know, maybe fumbles, interceptions, and the game gets out of hand. But taking the Eagles in the first half, like that +1.5, doesn't seem like a bad option with both of these teams feeling each other out. But it's a very close game. I agree with the line movement here. Some rain in the forecast. Should be an interesting one to watch here at 1 o'clock. Let's keep moving on to maybe the most intriguing game of the week here, and that's in the NFC South. 4:53, 4:54, Arizona and New Orleans. Obviously, the big news of the week, DFS people going wild. Taysom Hill is going to play quarterback but count as a tight end in some leagues. You take a look at, DraftKings and FanDuel. He's sitting at 4,500 for a legitimate starting quarterback with a ridiculous offense. But you have Atlanta, who's played hard coming off a bye week, probably getting ready for Jameis Winston during the week now to flip switches and say, hey, we got to play against Taysom Hill. Here's the part that I'm taking a look at this game, because in the Pick Six contest, I did take early on in the week, I had a 5.5 number on the Atlanta Falcons. It took it just because I knew there'd be some quarterback turmoil and the line's going to go lower. Not essentially a cap, but just taking absolute, CLV, some line value of what I thought the game would end. Now we're sitting at the 3.5s across the board. Over under opens up at 50.5, has dropped down to 49. I sort of picture the New Orleans offense this week, Kyle, similar to what you would get out of the Baltimore Ravens, which up till last week in the rain was a team that's constantly above 20 plus points. And I think you get that. Do I think Taysom Hill is a great passer? No, I don't, but he has a better arm than Drew Brees has. Now here's the inner workings. If you could try to factor on a game that, or Sean Payton, hey, 5-0 last year without Drew Brees, so it's not like they can't operate an offense without him. This one will be interesting to watch, because even in games where you play an upper echelon defense, which I don't think Atlanta is, let's just say the Chicago Bears top 5. They went on the road with Drew Brees in some cold, windy conditions with a little pop gun arm quarterback with no wide receivers in that game and scored 26 points against the Bears. What's holding me back to say that New Orleans isn't going to be able to operate on offense in this game? I think they'll be just fine. I think you get the added element of some packages that you probably haven't seen yet for the New Orleans Saints. Again, at home, in the dome, nice weather conditions, dominant wide receivers, good tight end, dominant offensive line, one of the best running backs in football, Alvin Kamara. What am I missing here in this game where this line would go from 5.5 to 3.5, and you don't think there's value on the Saints? I think the Saints can win this game and win it by more than 3 points.
Yeah, I think probably the big adjuster for this game is Marshawn Lattimore. Him being out is a huge loss for that defense, and I took Atlanta early in the week. I took him at 5.5 earlier in the week, and I feel pretty good about it. We just don't know what we're going to get out of Taysom Hill. And, I'm sure there's going to be some nerves. He's going to be a little bit hyped up. It wouldn't shock me to see a few overthrows when he does finally throw the football. Too many unknowns. The Atlanta defense, obviously not very good, but they have certainly been playing better since Raheem Morris took over. I actually like Atlanta in this game. Calvin Ridley's coming back. No Marshawn Lattimore is a deal breaker for me. They need him to shut down one of those elite wide receivers on the outside. No Marshawn Lattimore, no Drew Brees. Let's not forget Alvin Kamara was on the injury report all week with a foot issue. I know they took him off, but do foot issues just magically go away during the middle of the week? I've had some foot issues before myself, and they don't just go away. Yeah, you can take in a leave in the morning and hope it goes away, but I like Atlanta in this game. I know what I'm going to get from Atlanta. I don't know what I'm going to get out of New Orleans. I know it's going to be a run-pass option type offense. Can they put up enough points against an Atlanta team that is certainly capable of exploiting that secondary, especially with Marshawn Lattimore out? So I agree with the line movement getting narrower. I think Lattimore's a big deal. I still like Atlanta. I think Atlanta can win this game outright. I don't mind the money line on them either.
You know, it's interesting too, Kyle, when you look at this game, because this is one of those games that can have an ultimate surprise. Would you be surprised if Taysom Hill is on the bench in the second half? That wouldn't be a major surprise, but you'd also not going to be a major surprise, Kyle, if he operates in the first half and the Saints have 17 points or 3 scoring drives and he's looked good. This is one of those that's why I wanted to talk about this game more than just about every game, is because the polarization that you're getting from Taysom Hill and what you're anticipating, it really could go both ways. But having said that, if you are Taysom Hill, this is your spot to shine. You saw Sean Payton say early in the week, hey, I couldn't put him in the game last week because I just wanted a regular quarterback in, so to speak, for the second half of the game between the 49ers, and it worked out well. Now you can go through the week and put in packages. They're using this a lot as an evaluation tool because they probably don't think Drew Brees will be back next year. They don't want to re-sign him to a $30 million contract. You have to see what you have. So it's one of those things where it's not coming from a sabotage perspective. I just don't like Jameis. They're literally trying to say, I want this to work. So the gadgetry is going to be at a maximum here. We'll just see how the Atlanta Falcons come back and combat it. So the 3.5, I still like the New Orleans Saints. It's not a crazy saying. I like the Saints minus 3.5, but I actually took them at 5.5. But again, that's just for the line perspective, getting a free 2 points as a gambler long term. You're going to do that each and every time. What do you think about the over-under? It drops to 49. And when I look at it, you're right. The fact that if you like points in this game, you love Lattimore not playing because, again, Calvin Ridley's going to give it a go. Everybody's full go. You still think both of these teams, there's no windy conditions. There's no, fans in the stands where, hey, Matt Ryan can't hear because everybody's screaming in the dome. Nobody's there. I tend to lean on the over as well, 49.
Yeah, and I love the team total for Atlanta. I'm looking at 22.5. I think they get to 24 to 28 points. And if I think that, and I think it's a close enough game, I think the over is absolutely in play here. It's not the side I took. 49.5 with not really knowing what Taysom Hill is going to look like, how effective he's going to be, makes me a bit nervous. But I do expect Atlanta to be in the 20s easily. So I really like the Atlanta team total in this game. I like Atlanta to cover. I think they can win this game. I'm happy I got the 5.5 points. So I got some nice adjusted line value there, which is always nice. Makes you feel good on a Sunday morning. But I think I like the Atlanta Falcons. They're getting healthy while the Saints are hurt and banged up across the board. Too many unknowns for me for the Saints. So, I'm taking the Falcons.
Yeah, and the one interesting part about this, too, is when you have Drew Brees in the game and you're sure to run like an RPO-type play where you can hand it off to Alvin Kamara, throw it, nobody really cares about Drew Brees. Now you're going to have a legit running back in there every single play where when you put that fake in there and pull it out, somebody's got to cover both ways in this one. It's a fun game to look at, and I'm certainly looking forward to that coming up here at 1 o'clock. 4:55, 4:56, Detroit and Carolina, late word coming down. You know what's interesting about this game? It's almost like a two-pronged approach, which I'm getting from Matt Rule here. You have, Christian McCaffrey, you signed to a monster contract. He gets hurt. You let him sit on an extra 2 weeks to make sure he's right. He comes back, bangs up the shoulder. You sit him again immediately. It's like, we're not even taking any chances. But yet, Bridgewater leaves a game last week as a quarterback that's built on mobility, can't protect himself with a knee injury, can't practice all week, stumbling around like, dude, we're going to try to put it. I couldn't even understand the thought process, which I'm happy. He's actually inactive at this point, so he's not going to be able to play today when there's some word he was going to. I was just really surprised at the approach you're taking. If this is going to be your franchise quarterback guy, you're paying $20+ million a year, why are you running him back out there in basically what I think would be a meaningless game? Hence, Detroit now coming up as a 3-point favorite. And I got to tell you, I'm not one on going with guys with their first career starts who haven't been around the NFL all that long. Taysom Hill, a little bit different deal because he's been in the quarterback room. He's played in games. He's not going to have like, oh my God, I'm in an NFL game. What am I going to do? But PJ Walker coming in this game, Tell me if I'm wrong here. I actually like the fact that PJ Walker is now starting, and I'm going to get the 3 points at home because I love Matt Rule as a coach. I think they have a sound offensive game plan as long as he can make simple throws and doesn't DiNucci the game. Am I crazy for saying I like the 3 points with Carolina at home?
No, absolutely not. PJ Walker was a stud. Okay, it's the XFL, so let's just quantify
Temple.
this.
Come on, not SEC football, right?
Yeah, at Temple. But he looked like he is an athletic guy. He's going to do some different things. He's going to be able to run, create some, and he's been signed the entire season. They signed him in the offseason right off of the Houston Roughnecks XFL squad. So I don't think you're crazy. Oh, God, this game makes me really nervous. All signs point to Detroit, right? They have their quarter, even though, they're without Kenny Golladay, they're without Danny Amendola, they're without DeAndre Swift. Matt Patricia is one of the worst coaches in the league. I don't understand what he's doing, especially on the offensive side of the ball. It makes absolutely no sense. The defense is dreadful. They're a little bit banged up. This is a stay away game, run for the hills and stay away. But I do think you're right. I think I would be taking the points. I don't mind PJ Walker. I think you're going to see competent quarterback play. This will not be Ben DiNucci. PJ Walker is athletic. He's fairly accurate. I think PJ Walker, maybe I got to order myself a PJ Walker jersey because I absolutely loved the Houston Roughnecks. I made some good money those few weeks they played in the XFL with PJ Walker. No Christian McCaffrey for Carolina. It's going to look different. We don't really know what these teams, look at the weapons on the outside for Detroit. Marvin Hall, Marvin Jones, who's been banged up all week as well.
Mohamed Sanu.
Yeah, Quintez Cephas, Mohamed Sanu, TJ Hawkinson dealing with that toe injury from last week as well. That's going to linger for quite a while. Yikes. I'm 100% staying away. I think I would take Carolina. I think Carolina can run the ball. It should be a big Mike Davis day in DFS and fantasy. Detroit's the worst team in the league against opposing running backs in terms of fantasy points allowed. I'm with you, Vitalis. If PJ Walker wins this game, if they win this football game, I'm buying the PJ Walker jersey. It'll be on as soon as it gets, and probably the week after next, since we're taking the whole week off next week, right?
Yeah, exactly. We might not be on until the new year starts up.
That's right.
That's exactly. But even looking at this game where you say, because I know, PJ, or I see in the chat box, and I think Vitalis actually said it too, Bridgewater is a cover monster. You love PJ Walker. Here's the issue with it. Teddy Bridgewater's not a cover monster if he can't move in the pocket. His game is getting in and out of the pocket, making plays with his legs, extending drives. That's not going to be able to happen here. And a guy on one leg, you can't make that throw. You can't step into the throw. You're worried about getting hit. So that's the only reason why I look. But also, when you look at Detroit here, let's also not forget Matthew Stafford has an injury to his throwing thumb on his throwing hand. That's going to be a problem. And it's not like, hey, you know what? Let's lean on our running game. You're going to have a 50-year-old running back getting the start. Okay, let's lean on our passing game. Well, Kenny Galladay's not going to play. Danny Amendola, your little blanket over the middle, he's out as well. Yeah. It's not as if Detroit is coming in here as a really good football team and stacked offensively. If anything is wrong with, we're dinking and dunking for Matthew Stafford because you can't get the football downfield. And again, who are you getting the football to downfield? That's where I like the points here at home, and I see the threes across the board. Makes it interesting. 47 is a tough over-under because, again, what am I getting out of Matthew Stafford in the Detroit offense? But what am I getting under P.J. Walker? Are we opening the entire playbook and letting it fly here? I tend to lean under.
Yeah, I do too, and I just saw it in the chat. We just meant no. Swift and Galladay are not playing, so
otherwise it would be a completely different game.
Yeah, otherwise I'd be if you got this, it'd be a free square almost. But I like the under, and I think you're right. I think you got to take Carolina and take the points. Too many unknowns. So when you have these unknowns and you've got injuries and backup quarterbacks, etc., I tend to lean the under here. Carolina's secondary has been good for most of the year. The last few weeks, they've been beat up a little bit. Dante Jackson's going to miss this game, so they lose a little bit of coverage there. But again, you are not playing against a full deck here for Detroit. You're playing a bunch of backup weapons here. So, I got to again, this is a stay away game, but I would lean Carolina and also to the under. And by the way, do not make me go all flash on everyone here. We appreciate you at 430 people watching right now. 45 thumbs up. That's it. Hit that thumbs button. I will message Flash right now. He will come on here. He will yell at you all. You don't want that. So hit that like button for us, please.
Exactly, and it was a great segue too, Kyle. You should have, being the veteran you are here, you should have said that thumbs up right now. That's like hitting the thumb of Matthew Stafford right there. If you bet in Detroit, bang on that thumb and make it healthy. Get that bad boy up to 100. So, but you're right, Kyle. Over 400 people in here sharing their Sunday afternoon with us, getting ready for NFL football. Awesome stuff. Let's keep it moving here. New England and Houston, 457, 458. Not necessarily a COVID outbreak, but a flu outbreak in the Houston locker room, which might wreak a little bit of havoc here. You're down your starting left tackle already. Cam Newton's coming to town fresh off a couple wins, and we're here like, hey, if New England gets it together. I mean, I'm kidding here on this, but you are actually hearing the under, like, New England's going to make a run to the playoffs, see what they can do out here. I don't think that's going to be the case, but there's no reason to believe that they can't beat a really horrendous Houston defense and a flu-ridden locker room. The good thing that you'll get is a good offensive line for New England, a really poor defensive line outside of J.J. Watt making a couple splash plays. You can push that defense around and run as much as you want. A little bit healthier this week at wide receiver. No issues in the rain to worry about. I like the way their offense operated last week in the rain, and even the week before against a really bad Jets team, still able to pull out a victory and putting up some points. So maybe the barometer is looking a little bit higher on the New England Patriots coming in. 2.5. Usually I'll be looking to take Deshaun Watson in the spot and saying, let's win, but I just don't trust the defense for Houston. You get Stephon Gilmore coming back on the opposite side for New England. Maybe slow down one of those wide receivers, force Deshaun Watson to be Superman to win this game. Crazy that I'm thinking about this, but I do like New England in this game to win by a field goal here and get the cover.
Yeah, I like New England quite a bit. And I know Laramie Tunsil being out, New England doesn't have the greatest pass rush, and you're probably going to – if you're Houston, you're going to like, oh, wow, I'm having a whole lot less 1st and 15s and 1st and 20s because Laramie Tunsil is a highly penalized offensive lineman, one of these overrated guys, just one of those Bill O'Brien mistakes. But Houston struggles against the run. I think when you look at what New England is good at and what Houston struggles at offensively and defensively, it absolutely favors the New England Patriots. I do not trust Houston when games are physical and when they're tough. Stephon Gilmore coming back will absolutely make a difference. He's going to make things very difficult for Will Fuller or Brandon Cooks. You still have Jones and Jackson. So I think the Patriots defense is equipped to deal with Houston. No David Johnson, obviously, so a lot of Duke Johnson. I think New England runs the ball down Houston's throat. They absolutely cannot stop the run. When I look at the total, 48.5, I kind of like the under on that. I do think it's a ball control running type game, and I'm not sure that Houston can come back the other way. So I actually like the under 48.5, 49. I'm seeing that a few books quite a bit. And I also lean the New England Patriots.
Yeah, it just feels like a more competent showing you're probably going to get out of New England as long as you keep to the same formula that keeps New England in the games. Cam Newton a little bit healthier coming back from COVID now. You get, as I said, a little bit healthier at wide receiver, more options now at the running back position. So you should be able to move the ball at will on the ground versus Houston. It's just a matter if you get one of those Superman type efforts that we've seen from Deshaun Watson, but also talking about New England. Yeah, they don't have a great pass rush. So if you're down a couple guys in the offensive line, you can get that pressure on Deshaun Watson, and getting back a top 5 corner in the NFL is one of the, it's like getting a top, 1 or 2, like Aaron Donald getting back into the lineup for some big people on that New England defense. But
exactly
2.5, I lean to, I can't. What it comes down to, guys, I can't take Houston to win the game outright. That's all it is.
Exactly. You just can't. And New England, they're an up and down team. Some weeks they look great, right? They beat Baltimore, rainy weather. They look physical. They play good defense. Then other weeks they lose to a terrible Denver Broncos team when they should have absolutely blown them out of the water. So it's hard to gauge New England. How motivated are they? But I just think everything lines up. Sony Michel was thinking about coming back for this game, but I think Damian Harris, excellent young power back. They're going to run this right down the throat of the Houston Texans. And then we see it with Houston. Deshaun Watson's amazing. He's a fantastic quarterback, but they struggle on third down. You're going to see a lot of these 3rd and 6s, 3rd and 7s, and the ball hits the dirt and skips out of bounds. I just think New England has a more efficient way here of handling this. I like the New England Patriots, and I like the under quite a bit in this game.
Down in Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, and Jacksonville, obviously Ben Roethlisberger versus Jake Luton. And we take a look at this game, about a 50-50 ticket split. And it opened up, you saw that 10 range all week, even some 9.5s, but now we're comfortably over 10 at minus 10.5 across the board. Over-under opened up at 46, now sits at 47. No weather issues in this game. Here was my issue early in the week. Like I have a big board where I put games that I'm going to be looking at during the week that make sense early, and you try to whittle it down to get the plays that you think make the most sense at the end. The Steelers are still on my board, but only because I haven't bet them yet, because we're taking a look at the 28s, the 28.5s, the 29, which means everything has to go right. having said that, everything should be able to go right against Jacksonville, but also being a guy around the block a little bit, human nature is this. We got to go on the road to Jacksonville in a dead environment versus a dead team. Yes, we're undefeated, so the motivation spot is still there to say, hey, we have one loss, it's no big deal, and, we'll just play football and see what happens. They want to win this game, there's no doubt. But you can't tell me that Pittsburgh is going into this game and throwing the kitchen sink at Jacksonville. If they need a fake punt, they're going to use their fake punt that they've been saving up all year. If they need a key play on third down late in the game to try to pull away from Jacksonville, I don't know if that's going to be there. And to get numbers that you need to get 28 plus points, you have to leave it all out there. And also to say, is Pittsburgh's defense going to be able to suffocate Jacksonville where you don't need to up the ante late in the game? You saw it last week against a real poor defense, which Jacksonville is a real poor defense and an injured defense. They can get into the 30s relatively easily. But Kyle, my question is, do they work on the running game that has been inefficient the past couple of weeks and get that right before the Ravens? Or do they say, hey, this is a football game. We're here to win, and we're going to go guns blazing and shoot it up there 34, 37 points in this win and blow them out?
Yeah, I actually think what happened a few weeks ago against Dallas helps Pittsburgh backers today. They saw when they take a team lightly who had absolutely no reason to be in that game whatsoever, and they had to dig deep and pull that out. Now, you're right about the running game. And trust me, I am a James Conner owner in my fantasy football league, and it's a keeper league, so I get a really nice value on him. I am so bleeping sick of James Conner. I cannot stand watching him run the ball. Your tweet last weekend was spot on. He's slower than I am, and I am slower than I am so slow. And James Conner does not look fast. They need to work on that running game. But all the injuries for Jacksonville, the strength of Jacksonville is really they've been able to rely on that young running back, James Robinson, who was kind of banged up this week. You're not going to be able to do that this week. So it's going to be all on Jake Luton's shoulders. Now, I will say this, Pittsburgh, outside of Joe Hayden and Minkah Fitzpatrick, when you go to that left side of the defense, Steven Nelson in the slot, Mike Hilton, they really struggle covering the pass in there. So there are going to be some windows if they can have enough time. But, man, I've got to go with Pittsburgh here. I actually bet Pittsburgh minus 10.5. I don't normally do road favorites by double digits, but all the writing's on the wall. And I see someone asking about Chase Claypool and two Steelers wide receivers. I will mention today is Juju Smith-Schuster's birthday. So, with everything closed down quite a bit, he couldn't go out and party last night. So I think the party's on the field today. I love Juju Smith-Schuster. I like the Steelers. I think they make a statement. They try to get their starters off the field going into the fourth quarter so they can rest up and get ready for that big Thanksgiving night game against Baltimore where they could possibly seal the division.
And also, here's what you like to look at, and we call it a step up in competition, because most people say, hey, Pittsburgh really struggles on the road and is a 10-point favorite. Mm-hmm. They've lost 4 times outright. I understand all that. But sometimes when you have to look at who's going to play who or do what, it's who they played in the past, which we're going to talk about a couple of those games coming up. Look at the last 5 games for Jacksonville from an offensive perspective. Tell me how scared you're getting of this schedule. Houston, Detroit, the Chargers, Houston, and Green Bay. And you say, well, hey, they can operate. They scored 20 against Green Bay, 25 against Houston, 29 against the Chargers. It's a lot different when you have a rookie quarterback going up against the single best pass rush in the NFL. Yeah. The clock in your head goes off an extra half second fast. You know you have to get rid of the football, as opposed to taking a deep breath over those past 5 games that we're looking at some really bad defenses. It's a lot different when you step up in rank, and that's why I do think Pittsburgh can cover this game. And I didn't bet the game at 10.5, but I do think they can cover, win by 14. I do think they can hit their team total. But you know what I really feel better about, Kyle? If they played the Ravens next Sunday, not next Thursday. It's tough for me to take this game knowing that they know their rivals are coming to town.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's certainly that. At least it's the night game. So, they have a little bit more time, I suppose. It does make it tough. I just think what they saw happen to Green Bay last week and what happened to them against Dallas a few weeks ago is going to motivate them to stay engaged. And I love the alleged son comments. Every time I see that, I'm going, that's my absolute favorite. That cracks me up. And that's good that you're inviting him. I'm not sure you're supposed to be inviting him to Thanksgiving. Aren't we supposed to tell the kids to stay home or get that? I'm thinking about kicking my son out. Just get the hell out of here.
Yeah, kick the old lady out. Yep. Like, hey, come on,
get the hell out of here. But no, I do think just too many injuries for Jacksonville in that secondary. Defensively, they're bad. Offensively, they're bad. They're not going to be able to run the football in this game. I think Pittsburgh wants to make a statement early and sort of rest some of these players late in the game so they can sort of start getting ready for Baltimore. And it doesn't hurt that they have a 3-game lead plus a win already on Baltimore. So I think there's a lot less pressure going into that game. I mean, they could legitimately be going into that game And if things go, we'll get to the Baltimore-Tennessee game. They could be within, their magic number could be 1 after this Thursday, after Thanksgiving, to win that division. I like Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh to cover. And yes, it makes me a little nervous because of what happened in Dallas, but I think that motivates them, makes them a little bit more focused. Jacksonville's bad. I expect some turnovers by that Jacksonville offense. I like the Steelers in this one.
Yeah, and I can't disagree. I really can't, because I do, and I say this by, if you're undefeated still, there's always motivation, because you always have to have your guard up. You're trying to do something special that only one other NFL team did. So that is the motivating factor. If they would have came in, tied with the Ravens, like, oh, we got this huge game, we have to win next week, because theoretically they could go beat Jacksonville and get hammered by the Ravens, and nothing really changes outside of they have a 1 on the loss column because they're so far up in the division as is. Good game to look forward to. Here's one that we talked about quite a bit here during our shows on Tuesday and Thursday. 463, 464, Cincinnati and Washington. And honestly, my theory really hasn't changed all that much. I think Cincinnati is live in this football game, and it just comes from a matter of fact, like I just talked about it in that Jacksonville game. There hasn't been too many free passes for Cincinnati throughout the year. They've been playing elevated competition, seems like, each and every week. And now you sort of get that breather. And it's really close to taking a team total in Cincinnati or even Washington in this game, because they're two bad football teams. Didn't like what I saw out of Washington's defense last week. Now you're going to get a little bit more of an offensive showing. It's crazy. Well, wait, they played last week. Matthew Stafford. I actually think the offense for Cincinnati is better than Detroit's offense, even if they're both healthy at times. You have legitimate wide receivers. You have legitimate running game, which obviously Joe Mixon is going to be out, but you can still operate out of that, what I call satellite backfield with Giovanni Bernard, and move the football against Washington. But the one thing that's really interesting is the propensity to Alex Smith to go through all his reads and usually check it down. But it's been working, Kyle. Over 300 plus yards the past 2 weeks. And I'm saying, where do I sign up maybe for Alex Smith? Because I love it. And I maybe have to get a T-shirt or a jersey from maybe even the defensive coordinator's, autographed signature I can hang on my wall, because Cincinnati's defense has been my best friend in gambling all year. They don't stop anything. You want to run the football, run it. You want to throw to the tight end, throw it to the tight end. You want to throw it short, throw it short. You want to throw it deep. Anything you want is wide open versus Cincinnati. But I still have that Alex Smith feel like, can I get away with pulling teeth and having 6 points at the half because Alex Smith dumps it down repeatedly? And if they're down, he's a great quarterback. The problem is here, I don't know if Washington's going to be down enough where Alex Smith has to push the gas pedal and throw it 40 plus times in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, he has been doing it. It's been crazy. And you're right. You see him going through his progressions, and you're like, just get rid of the ball, Alex. Don't get hit. Don't get hit. Don't get hit. Don't go low. Don't get a low. Oh, God, don't do it. I actually took Washington in this game. Cincinnati, absolutely a live dog. I don't think you're crazy at all for taking Cincy. I think this is a real 50-50 game. I'm giving the slight edge to that Washington defense. Now, the Bengals offense, certainly better than the Washington offense, no doubt about it. But when you flip it over, the Bengals, one of the worst defenses outside of William Jackson out there at corner, has been pretty good this year and might give Terry McLaurin a little bit of trouble this week. But that Washington defense is pretty good. They can get after the quarterback. We know that Cincinnati offensive line isn't very good. So I actually lean the under in this game. I don't think that the Cincinnati offense is going to put up a ton of points on Washington. Washington's an underrated defense. I think this is a very close game. It won't shock me either way who wins this one. I leaned Washington. Don't think you're crazy for Cincinnati. I don't want to bet this game with my own money. I think it's way too much of a 50-50. If you want to do a teaser, I saw some of that. Yeah, if you want to get it up to 7.5 points, I like that. Absolutely. I think that's a smart way to go for doing some sort of teaser parlay, etc. But yeah, my lean is Washington in the under. Don't love it. A little bit scary. 50-50 teams. I'm just going to give the slight edge to that Washington defense.
Fred Johnson, very nice comment today. Burrow going out in a stretcher today, so he likes that Washington defense as well. And we talk some DFS every once in a while on the show. If you want some pain, you got to take AJ Green. So we'll hopefully get punched in that end zone, get me some points here. But I like the wide receivers. The offensive line getting a little bit more healthy here for Cincinnati over the past couple weeks. There's a couple weeks ago, they're down 4 of their 5 offensive linemen. Dinkin and Duncan, Alex Smith. It is painful to watch, but sometimes you can cross the finish line with a team total with them. We'll see if it comes into play today. Got some good wide receivers that should be able to get open. Talking about McLaren, he should have a nice day here versus that secondary of Cincinnati. Nate, this is surprising that this isn't a 4:00 game, because I'm interested in this game. The two teams that really need to get back on track, Baltimore Ravens coming into this football game along with Tennessee, both 6-3. We saw one of those seasons for Tennessee that maybe they would be looking at a top seed in the AFC, but now that's not going to be possible after a couple losses. And they're running up against an angry Baltimore team that lost last week, vows to get better this week, but seemingly a little bit more injured on the front line, which is exactly where you don't want to be injured when you're going to get a freight line train coming at you today, like King Henry. Looking at the total in this game, opened up at 40.5. We're now seeing over 50.5 at most outlets. So we're anticipating points. I agree with that. I think Baltimore is going to be in the 20s. I think Tennessee, if you get them out of their rhythm where they have the lead and they just can run the clock, they're going to have to push it, maybe shoot some of those balls downfield with Ryan Tannehill. But that pass rush isn't going to be there like it usually is for Baltimore. That hard rush that comes directly up the middle, which is a quarterback's worst nightmare, is not going to be there. And also 2 run-stopping guys that clog up the middle. That's going to be tough when you got Henry coming downhill. Having said that, I actually like Baltimore to win this game by a touchdown. I do. I think they bounce back. I think they get into the 20s. I think they sort of put their stake in the ground. Enough is enough. Even though they're a little bit banged up on defense, something is wrong with Tennessee, and I don't think that defense is going to get enough pressure on Lamar Jackson to force him into making really bad mistakes.
Well, you are right that Tennessee is not going to pressure Lamar Jackson because they don't pressure anybody. It's the worst pass rush in the league. But this is going to be the spot where this is going to be our disagree game of the week. And which probably means it's going to be a blowout one way or the other. That's what seems to happen when we disagree on these games. And one of us just looks like a complete jackass. And that's fine. Been the victim of it, been the beneficiary, or whatever. But I like Tennessee. What I saw from Baltimore, I know it was weird weather, but when Brandon Williams went out, they're already without Calais Campbell. I just didn't see them be able to stop the run at all. Now you bring in Derrick Henry, the best power back in the league by far, not even close. Now I said power back, not necessarily running back, but certainly the best power back in the league. I think he has an absolute field day, and I just don't know how Baltimore stops the run. And if Baltimore is getting churned up on the ground and they bring those safeties up and they try to stack the box, this isn't going up against Cam Newton and Jacoby Myers. Tannehill, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, they will be without Adam Humphries, so it's going to be like Cameron Batson and what's the kick returner, Khalif Raymond. But I just think Tennessee is able to run the ball here, and I also do think with Tennessee lacking in pass rush, Lamar Jackson likes to run the ball. I do think their players, since they just simply can't get upfield to rush anyways, they're going to be in position where they can maybe slow down Lamar a little bit. I love Lamar for DFS purposes today. I certainly think there's points. The Titans team total, I'm looking at 21.5, I think is a smash spot this week. I definitely think the Titans get over 21.5. I think they're in that 24 to 28 range. And if they get ahead, and they get the lead and they force Lamar Jackson to throw the ball, even though that Tennessee secondary is not very good, I do not trust the passing game of Baltimore to be able to bring them back. So I like the Titans in this one. I think they cover, and I absolutely think they're a live dog and can win this football game.
Hey, I like it. I like what you're saying on this one. If you take a look at the past couple of games there, outside where they hung 30 on Philadelphia and 27 on Cincinnati, they came back, played Pittsburgh, lost 28-24, but still had well over 400 yards in that game. Then played another top 5 defense in Indianapolis, and then played New England in a pouring rainstorm. We'll see if we get those nice weather conditions, which it looks like we're going to have in Baltimore today. I think it opens up the score. So I do think that Baltimore wins by a touchdown, but I do also think that this game gets around that 50-point range to give you a legitimate shot here. Moving across to 4 o'clock games, and this one is a sponsored game here, Kyle. 475, 476, Miami and Denver, and it's sponsored by everybody and they mama's barbecue sauce. Why do I say that? Because everybody and they mama is lined up, waiting around the corner like it's a free handout here to take those Miami Dolphins at 3.5 or even 4s that we see across the board. Over-under opened up at 45.5, now up to 46. Winners of 5 straight games, the Miami Dolphins, favored to make it 6 in a row, going on the road to Mile High. Nice weather conditions. You can't ask for anything better on November 22nd to get about 50 degrees with 3 or 4 mile-an-hour winds and sunny skies. So maybe we see some scoring, but I get a lot of hate for this by saying Miami's offense isn't that good. So is this game going to be close where the Dolphins must win it by 7 and you need 3 Drew Lock picks in order to cover that? Or does Miami's offense finally show up and play some football today and put Denver away?
Man, this is and you're right. I'm one of the guys. I even said it Thursday. I took Miami in this one. I just don't trust Drew Lock. I know he's going to play, but you just look, the way they start games, playing from behind, it's absolutely brutal. And you're not playing the Falcons or the Chargers here where you can just come back and do anything you want, teams who can't play with the lead. This Miami defense is for real. They have 2 legit shutdown corners. They're well coached. Tua is we haven't had this huge explosive Tua game, but we saw signs of it in that Arizona game where he, I guess you could say, outdueled Kyler Murray to that victory there. I just don't trust Denver. I have not seen them start fast enough to tell me that they can stay in the game. If they are down 10-0, 17-3, 21-10, it's not going to be smooth sailing to the comeback like you're playing the Falcons and the Chargers when we've sort of seen that Broncos offense look good. A banged up Drew Lock. I like Miami in this game. I think they win the game by a touchdown. They're on a roll, and they've been good to me lately, so I'm going to stay with the Miami Dolphins. Look, if you're going to blow out teams like the 49ers, who at the time had Jimmy Garoppolo, if you're going to beat teams like the Rams, if you're going to beat teams like the Cardinals, I certainly got to take you against the Denver Broncos.
And you're right. When you take, because I've won games with Drew Lock at quarterback on team totals, and they say, how do you equate like a performance for Drew Lock and the Broncos? Put it, if you're a pilot, Kyle, in the cockpit and you're flying, knock one of your engines out and have your other one starting to seize. That's coming in for a landing saying, how the hell am I going to cover or get this when I have 3 or 6 points at the half and he has to go bananas in the fourth quarter? You needed him to go to bananas in the fourth quarter versus Oakland, and he actually went bananas the opposite direction, and he's banged up coming this week. Fant's going to play. He's banged up a little bit. But if you look at the overall weapons in this game for Denver, even without Cortland Sutton, there's some active young wide receivers, and the quarterback still has a big arm. But again, if you're betting Denver, we can't get upset when we're throwing things against the wall. Like, it was 1st and goal from the 6. He threw in the double coverage and it's an interception. That's what Drew Lock does. I just want to see if that Miami offense comes to play and says, you know what? We're going to be the benefactors in this game. We're going to set the tone. Not, hey, Tua, don't make any mistakes. Get us 300 yards and we'll play good defense. So it should be a good one to watch. But everybody is betting the Miami Dolphins. I can't fault you for doing that based on what Denver's done, but we'll see what happens here. Let's go to 405. Another team that we were taking a look at. Maybe, are they going to show up? Do you want a lot of pain by taking the Jets team total over? I certainly haven't subscribed to that this week. But the Chargers are going to play the Jets. The Jets on defense are horrendous as it is, and down even more guys in the secondary, playing a team in the Chargers that shows the propensity to be able to go downfield, throw intermediate routes, and really get after it, specifically against bad defensive secondary teams like the Jets are. We're not worried about this game with any weather conditions. It's going to be played in the Dome. Here's my issue, because I look at the 47.5, and I think that's a legitimate shot. I'm still a little bit shell-shocked of one of my losses a couple weeks ago on the Jets team total against the Dolphins, where when I saw a defense like the Dolphins that was able to get pressure on Joe Flacco, he wanted no part of it. But then you see last Monday night when you watch them play the New England Patriots and the Patriots had 0 pass rush, you get a little comfortable in the pocket, like, hey, I can make this throw. I don't have to get rid of this early. Nobody's going to kill me or put pressure up the middle. Now you're going to get the Chargers full go at defensive end. I want to see if Joe Flacco is still up to it and plays, because if he plays an average performance, they should be able to get the 47, because I don't think there's any way in hell that the Jets hold the Chargers under 24 points in this game. The Chargers are going to score. My question to you, Kyle, is can the Jets return volley to make this a competent game, or is this one that you see maybe 24-3 heading in late into the third quarter?
Well, even if it is, I'm channeling my inner Donnie here, because I'm going to take that Jets team total at 17.5. I think I'm going to lock it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. This is your fault. It's because you took. If you're going to take Ben DiNucci or Garrett Gilbert 16.5, God damn it, I'm taking Joe Flacco 17.5. The Chargers defense is terrible, and even if it's 24-3 going into the fourth quarter, what have we seen the Chargers do? Give up big leads. They don't know how to win football games, and it's a huge addition to the defense getting Bosa back, obviously, and it's going to make things tough on Flacco. Yeah. But that secondary has been really bad. They have not been able to stop the run. They're poorly coached. They don't know how to win. I think the Chargers win this game. I really do. They're certainly the better team, and I'm rooting for Herbert. I love Justin Herbert. He's been absolutely fantastic this year. Needs to get that win. The coach and that defense need to get out of his way. Should be big games for Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Justin Herbert. Got even Hunter Henry's in play for me this week. I think the Jets cover this game. I think they score over the 17.5 team total. That's going to be my bold prediction of the week, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm taking the Jets to cover. I just can't take a team like the Chargers who don't know how to win and who have proven time and time and time again that they can't hold on to a lead to be double-digit favorites. That's just insane. You're not going to make money that way. So I'm going to pass on that. Say the Jets cover, and I say they get over the team total. I like the over in the game as well. I think you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, if we're overthinking it, which I always love to do, maybe you say like, the Chargers know that if they're up 21 points in the third quarter, they can't just ride this one out because they need to make it 35 points or they might lose the game. So a lot of interesting things. I don't think these two teams are going to be in shutdown mode because they're not playing for the playoffs. So therefore, you tend to go for it more in fourth down, try different things, put Justin Herbert in different situations and say, hey, let me get as many reps as I can out of the kid. They should be a competent offense. But again, it comes to that threshold of when the team totals are at 28, you need a 30-point effort out of a rookie quarterback. Can he get it? Sure. But the fact of the matter is a lot has to go right, and that also means that the Jets are running a competent offense, not just running the clock to get out of town and collect their pick for Trevor Lawrence at the end of the season. So don't have to spend too much more time on that game. Let's get to the 425 games, the spotlight game of the day, maybe one of the better ones here, Green Bay and Indianapolis. You know me, I love Indianapolis. When they play in the Dome, good weather, I'm usually lining up for them, and today's going to be no different. Line opened up at 1. Now we're seeing 2.5s and 1.5s and 2s across the board. So a lot of these books are moving their lines, probably getting a lot of pretty good action both ways. If you take a look at SBRodds.com, about 6 out of every 10 tickets coming in on the Green Bay Packers. Normally I would look and be like, hey, you know what? Devontae Adams is going to play. Alan Lazard's going to come back. He should be healthy at running back. This is a game where I want to take Aaron Rodgers because I really don't feel Indianapolis. I feel Indianapolis always gets a bad rap because look at Phillip Rivers in the throwing motion. But when you go over a game by game by game basis, they are as good as it gets, a competent, sound effort, which is one of the teams you love to bet on. When week in and week out, typically, I'm going to get a very good coaching performance and a solid effort out of my team, specifically with good defense over on that side of the ball. Darius Leonard's going to play today, and we say, when he's in that lineup and healthy, which he is, that's a completely different defense. The one thing Aaron Rodgers doesn't like are those hardcore defenses that are going to put pressure on you and be really stingy against the running game. You see the body language change. Everything's high and mighty when you're able to throw all over Jacksonville. Hey, we pulled it out last week. What's Jacksonville going to do to you? This is a completely different game. They are going to be on their P's and Q's on defense. I'm going with Indianapolis Colts. I'll lay the -1.5 to -2, but also, here's an interesting one, Kyle. Opens up the total 49. We're seeing 52.5 now. Under. Bang.
Under. I don't understand it. That's the most confusing line movement of the day for me. Is why the over is moving up. Look at these teams. The Green Bay Packers do not like playing tough physical teams. Absolutely don't like it. They don't like playing teams with competent running games. The Colts have 3 competent running backs. They're going to run the football.
Baby. Unleash Naeem.
Unleash Naeem Holmes. You're going to see Jonathan Taylor. You're going to see Jordan Wilkins. And Green Bay simply can't stop the run. So what are the Colts going to do? They are going to run the ball down their throat. And then when you look at the Colts defense, the Packers absolutely crumble when you put a physical, tough defense in front of them. They have for years. They are the softest team in the NFL. I like the Colts quite a bit in this game, and I love the under. I do not understand the movement going up. I think you see ball control, running game by the Colts. And I think you see a Green Bay offense that struggles to move the ball against an elite defense with the Colts, especially when Darius Leonard plays. I like the Colts. I like the under. 2 of my favorite picks of the week.
Yeah, and it comes down to a healthy Colts team, which I believe they're coming into this. And finally, we're seeing it. Let's not hand it off to the slow young running back because we drafted him high. Let's ride the hot hand. And Nyheim Hines has been fantastic over the past couple weeks. Now going to be more included in the offense. It's all a matter of what Green Bay is, because sometimes when you get a hot Aaron Rodgers, there's nothing really you can do about it. But if he's just bringing his B game to the table, they should be able to run with it. You're going to have it in Indy, so you're not going to have any weather conditions or, hey, they're playing in Green Bay. It's 20 degrees. Aaron Rodgers loves this. It's a completely different atmosphere in this one. I don't agree, and you're right. I don't agree with the 3.5-point line movement to the over here. I think if we're looking at, yes, Indianapolis has a good offensive line. They'll move the football. Green Bay is Aaron Rodgers. No way I'm taking an under. If that's the way you want to go, yes. But I look at this game saying Indianapolis on offense is going to want to slow this game down, run their $60,000 or 60,000 death by cuts offense, crisscross, 3 yards, 4 yards, TY for 9 yards, run the football, dump it off in the flat. I think that's going to take clock here. So I'm going to take the under at the 52.5, and we will keep moving here. 4:25 p.m. Spotlight game? I don't know, maybe just because it's the Dallas Cowboys, but this is going to be between one team headed in the right direction, trying to make that 7th playoff spot in the Minnesota Vikings versus the Dallas Cowboys, who woke up after the bye going, hey, guys, we still have a shot at the division, just like everybody else in the NFC East does. coming back to play quarterback Andy Dalton, fresh off a terrible concussion, fresh off getting over COVID, is now going to resume the reins. And also some interesting information coming out of Dallas here. One of the best right guards in football is now going to line up and play right tackle, which I do agree with this move to try to shore up that offensive line to give Andy Dalton a little bit of time. Look at the over-under, 46.5 midweek. Now we're seeing at 50s across the board, a line of primarily 7s. I don't trust Minnesota as I think Minnesota's better than the Dallas Cowboys. I do, but I don't trust them to win this game by double digits. So the only way I can actually look at this game is by taking Dallas, and I'm always going to have an affinity for the Dallas Cowboys, Kyle. Like, you know, you see like some of these old guys come on, they talk like on radio, like the 83-year-old gambler, like, hey, tell us a story about the old days. Like when I'm going to sit on my couch and my grandson's going to come up and be like, hey, Poppy, tell me about some of the old days of gambling. I'm going to go, grandson, it's one night on a Sunday night. Your grandfather bet on Ben DiNucci and to get his team total over. Like that, I will always have a special spot in my heart for Dallas, and I think they get the cover today. So there you go. That's my.
I do too, and I'm so mad at all the books for putting me in a position where I actually have to bet on Mike McCarthy and Andy Dalton. Yes, I'm so pissed. Like, how dare you put me in this spot? But look, Andy Dalton will be competent at quarterback today. Why? Because the Minnesota defense is terrible and that secondary is bad. They have an advantageous matchup across the board at wide receiver. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb all have good matchups. Zeke Elliott has a good matchup. That offense is positioned to do something. I do think there's points in this game. So the fact that this game with two bad defenses has a lower total than the Green Bay Indianapolis game is very strange to me. I do think this game can go over. I think Dallas is a live dog and can win this game outright. I can't believe I'm saying those words. How dare the schedule makers put them up against this Minnesota team? But that Minnesota defense is really bad. I do think they win the game. They can win the game. Dallas is a live dog. So if I think Dallas can win the game outright, why the hell would I give the Vikings 7.5 points? It's not going to happen. I'm taking Dallas and I'm taking the over in this one.
I can't disagree. I think that we do get points in this game. And again, you need a competent start out of Andy Dalton. Like you saw it, and the people are wondering why in Dallas that you're not going with Gilbert this week. When you pay your backup quarterback $8 million and you tell him he's going to play, he's going to play when he gets healthy. And of course, if he looks terrible in the first half, he might be able to get replaced. But Mike McCarthy, just coming from a locker room perspective, that's really what you do because your future really isn't in Gilbert anyway. Dak Prescott's coming back next year. You still want to have Andy Dalton in decent spirits because he can be a viable backup quarterback unless he gets, pummeled in the deck and concussed like he was at Washington. It's an interesting game and it's a lot of respect, but also talk about open up at -8.5, saw 7s bouncing between 7.5. I do agree. I think Minnesota is going to be able to win the football game myself, but I don't see Minnesota winning like 41-17. You know what I mean? Like a runaway. I think this game's going to be close in the fourth quarter, and I think you might have a motivated Ezekiel Elliott. And also, just from a team perspective, in a normal year, Dallas isn't playing for anything. And guys are going to be like, dude, I'm taking my paycheck home. I don't even want to get sick. I'm even opt out at this point, if that makes sense. But now that they have a legitimate chance in the NFC East, even though it's ridiculous, they're still going to be able to come and play here. How about this night game here on Sunday Night Football? 471, 472, Kansas City. We've heard it all week. Big Red not happy about the fact that they blew the horns around Arrowhead, left town, their only loss of the season, coming back in a revenge type situation. I get the revenge type. I really do. And I don't know how mad Andy Reid really is because him and John Gruden are good friends. Do they want to ball? Yes, these teams hate each other. They go back decades here in the AFC West. It's not like, hey, we're best friends. I'm not going to blow you out. They really want to get after it. But now you're taking a look at these lines, 7.5s, 56.5, 57. It's actually come down a little bit from the 57.5s and 58s that were out there. Does it come down to the point, because me and Kyle, we bring this up all the time, like when you look at Kansas City at less than double digits, if you think they're going to win the football game, there's probably a good chance they're actually going to cover as well. But then you go back to games against the Carolina Panthers where teams like that aren't as talented as Kansas City still hang around in this one. Can Oakland come out, line up with their offensive line, and pound the football, slow this game down? Because I don't know if you can win in an aerial assault like you did last time with Kansas City. Do they slow it down and keep it going? Because that's the biggest issue I'm having with this game here.
I think the Chiefs are pissed, and I think they're going to beat the brakes off the Raiders today. I do think the Raiders win by double digits, and even if it's single digits, 1.5 minutes left, the game is over, there's no timeouts for the Raiders. I think the Chiefs purposely try to score late just to get over that number, to send a message. The Raiders sort of taunted them in Kansas City. Looks like all those Raiders players are going to be available. Most 7 out of the 10 from the COVID list, most of them are going to be available, almost all of them.
I think LaMarcus Joyner is actually going to sit this one out tonight. So that's one of the guys that's not coming back.
Yeah, that's one of their better players in the secondary. Yep. Kansas City was going to get Sammy Watkins back, but they are not. I like the Chiefs in this one, and you're right. When you take the Chiefs, if it's by a touchdown or and you think they're going to win the game, the Chiefs, first of all, terrific against the spread. Very rarely do they not cover. Earlier against the Raiders, obviously. Yep. I think a revenge spot, no weather to worry about, beautiful stadium. Revenge narrative, no LaMarcus Joyner for the Raiders, I think, is a big loss in the secondary. Don't forget the last time they played, Bashaud Breeland was, I don't know if he was back yet or just coming back, but he's really going to make things tough on Ruggs and Aguilar outside. I like the Chiefs. I think they win by double digits. I actually bet them -7.5 earlier in the week.
Yeah, take a look at Fox Bet out of New Jersey, too. It's like, there's no free lunches out here. 32 is the team total for Kansas City. So when you look at that, it's like, hey, we know they're going to score points. And then you sort of scratch your head like, whoa, 32, okay. Yes, they can get that very easily. But, man, you're like, hey, they got 21 at the half. You're like, whoa, okay, well, still need to keep on hitting the gas when normally you'd be just about wrapping up that stuff. So it is what it is. We got through the card here in 55 minutes. Go over some best bets here that we're taking a look at. I'll start with myself first, Kyle. I'm going to go with one 1 o'clock game and one 4:25 game. First game we'll take a look at is going to be aside the Baltimore Ravens. If I'm talking all this smack about, I think they can win by a touchdown, I'm going to back it up in this one. I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens -6. And then again, I think we're probably both going to be on the same side here. 461, 462, 4:25 p.m. I'm taking the under 52.5. If they get into a shootout between Indianapolis and Green Bay, so be it, but I don't think it plays that way. Some defensive help coming back for Green Bay. Obviously, a healthy defense in Indianapolis. This game will be played like a playoff game. Two teams that are going to be getting into the 20s, but I look at one of these type of games there, that 24-21, 27-21 type game. I think that's where it's going to end up, and I'm going to take the under. So those will be my two wagers today. Kyle, how about yourself today?
Yep, 100% agree with that under. And I just want to say real quick, thank you to all of you after we asked you to hit the like button. 147 of you hit the thumbs up. Thank you all so much for that. That's really cool. Really appreciate it. First, for me in the early window, I love the team total for Atlanta over 21.5. I just think that's too easy. 22.5 it might have moved up to. Love Atlanta to get over that team total. I agree with you on the under. I'm going to take an underdog. I think the Tennessee Titans cover against Baltimore and can win that game outright. I like Tennessee quite a bit today.
And baby.
Yeah, and if I'm going to take one more, I think it's going to be, I like Miami. I do like Dallas, but I'm going to have to say that the New England Patriots beat Houston by a touchdown. I think they cover that 2.5 as well.
There you go. Wrap it all up. 5 minutes till kickoff. Thank you guys once again for spending your Sunday early morning, afternoon, wherever you're coming into worldwide here with us here at sportsbook.com. Awesome stuff. Hopefully get a good day out of this. Kyle and myself will be back tomorrow for our Monday Night Football live betting extravaganza and a good one tomorrow night between those Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So make sure you join us. Good luck on all your wagers today. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. We are sportsbook.com, and this was the closing line.